Hi everybody, so for today's blog post I'm going to be doing a cumulative review of seasons 1 to 3 of Friends. I've already talked about season 1 and season 2, but I wanted to review the first 3 seasons all together in one post instead of reviewing season 3 by itself, because I wanted to talk about my favorite episodes in all 3 seasons. So let me just pull up my notes. So my top 10 favorite season 1 to 3 episodes of Friends are as follows. The one with the birth, which is the one when Ben is born. The one with 5 steaks and an eggplant, which is episode 5 of season 2, when they all go out to the fancy dinner for Monica's promotion and go to the concert for Ross's birthday. And as I have said in previous videos, what makes this episode so relatable to me is that my friends and I used to deal with this we still do deal with this situation quite a bit, because all of us may not have the money to go to certain activities or to afford them because we're trying to save for certain things, and it gets hard to do expensive things all the time for people's birthdays or for holidays. So that's seeing something like that in a TV show is amazing, and I love the Friends actors for making such a relatable episode. The next one is the one with the lesbian wedding, which is the one where Carol and Susan get married. And there are 2 things about this episode that really stood out to me. First of all, the fact that they featured a lesbian wedding on TV was pretty iconic for the mid-90s. When this episode aired in 1996, I was 12. So when I didn't know a lot about gay and lesbian culture, it was very interesting for me to see something like that on a TV show, because I was not very familiar with it. But of course, these days, in my 30s, I'm not going to say exactly how old I am, just that I'm in my 30s, I have friends and coworkers who are gay and lesbian, so of course I'm very well aware of lesbian and gays, and I am in full support of them being represented positively in the media. And it's really good to see shows like, for example, Andy Mack, which I still need to watch. It's a Disney Channel show, or The Loud House, which has Clyde's parents. The Loud House is a recent Nickelodeon cartoon that features a young boy who has 10 sisters, and his best friend Clyde has gay parents. The main character's name is Lincoln Loud. So I feel like Carol and Susan getting married was a very trailblazing thing for them to do in the mid-90s. And another thing that's really focused upon in Friends is different family dynamics with the characters. Like, for example, Ross and Susan and Carol have a blended family with Ben. And then Monica and Chandler adopt twins at the end of the series, but I haven't made it that far yet, obviously. I'm only on season 3. And then Phoebe is a surrogate in the next season to her brother Frank and his wife Alice. The next thing I wanted to mention about in the one with the lesbian wedding is one serious issue that is talked about is how Rachel's mom tells Rachel she's getting divorced from her dad. And what stood out to me about this scene with Rachel and her mom is that she says, "You didn't marry your Barry, honey, but I married mine." And basically, What that says to me is that Rachel did a really good thing by leaving Barry at the altar and reconnecting with Monica and meeting everybody else, because I think that was a really good move for her, because if she had stayed with Barry, she would have been miserable. And basically what Rachel's mom says to her is that she regrets staying in an unhappy marriage for so long with somebody who really didn't care too much about his family, because it really seems that Rachel's dad was more into his boats than he was with his family. And like, I would have really loved to see more about what happened after the divorce, because that wasn't really talked about. Like, it would have been interesting if they had done a spin-off show just with Rachel's family, because Rachel's sisters, who are played by Christina Applegate and Reese Witherspoon respectively, they only appear in a few episodes in the later seasons, but I really wish they had been in more episodes, because it would have been nice to see the dynamics with Rachel and the rest of the friends become a little bit more developed. My next favorite episode is the one with the prom video, which is where Rachel and Ross finally solidify their feelings for each other after much back and forth during most of season 1 and all of season 1 and most of the episodes that come before this. And there's this whole he's her lobster thing, which, by the way, lobsters are not monogamous, so Phoebe's analogy does not work. My next favorite episode is the one where no one's ready. And what makes this episode relatable to me is because I have been in situations before where I am trying to get somewhere and I don't want to be late, but like, I'm always worried about my friends being on time, because sometimes my friends are late to things, and like, it's really high stress. And like, my favorite scene in this episode is when Joey is wearing all of Chandler's clothes. I just love that whole interaction between Joey and Chandler. It's so funny, and that's like one of the best quotes in the whole entire series. So that episode easily gets a high ranking, A-. And most of these other episodes either get A- to B+ for rankings. The next season 3 episode that I liked was the one with the football, which is the Thanksgiving episode where they're playing football while they're cooking Thanksgiving dinner. And that's just a really fun episode to see, because I really like watching them play football and how they get so competitive against each other. It's a really fun episode. The next one is the one with the race car bed, which is the one where where Phoebe and Monica are in a mattress store that is owned by Janice's ex-husband. And Phoebe accidentally buys a race car bed that's meant for a little kid for Monica's bed instead of buying the bed that Monica wants to buy. And I just thought that whole thing with buying the race car bed was really funny. The next one was the one where Monica and Richard are just friends. And Miss Mojo recently came out with a new video about how friends tackle serious issues. And And the main thing that they talk about related to Monica and Richard's relationship is how their relationship doesn't work out because they want different things in their lives. Like, Monica wants to have kids, and obviously Richard is a lot older because he's friends with Monica's father. So he already has kids, and he's like old enough to be a grandfather, basically. So, I mean, I love Monica and Richard's relationship. I think it's very sweet. I think it's a good precursor to the relationship she'll eventually have with Chandler later on in the series. And I always thought they were a cute couple, which is why I hated the fan theory, which is not true, by the way, that Monica is not Jack Geller's daughter. And this fan speculation, which I also don't believe is true, is that Monica is Richard's daughter. And I reluctantly wrote a fan fiction based on this fan theory. I think it came out pretty good, but at the same time, I was anxious to post it because I was nervous that if Courtney Cox were to ever read it, not that she will, but if she does, I was worried she was going to get offended by how I interpreted that fan theory that is not true. So yes, and then in another season 3 episode, Richard and Monica are trying to work things out and still remain friends after their breakup. And I mean, I think that was portrayed very realistically. I have never been in a situation where I have had to be friends with... Actually, have I? Yes, actually, I have had to be friends with an ex because the boyfriend I had before I met my husband, my partner, sorry, not husband, partner, so he was a couple of years younger than me in college. I was a senior, he was a sophomore, so we were at different levels of maturity. He was a nice guy, we got along good, but I mean, our relationship didn't work out, and I kept in touch with him a little bit after I graduated, but then, as time went along, we, drifted apart. I haven't talked to him in probably 10 or 15 years, but I'm sure if we were to ever reconnect, we would be friends. I don't know. I know that he has a YouTube channel, so I don't know if he's gonna ever see my video. But if he does, maybe he'll comment. Who knows? His name is Jesse, by the way. The next favorite episode from seasons 1 to 3 of Friends is the one with the hypnosis tape. This episode was funny. It's the one where Rachel gives Chandler a hypnosis tape so he can quit smoking, and the hypnosis tape is meant for women. So basically, he adopts feminine qualities while he's listening to the tape, and it's really funny. And what's interesting about this episode is the voice on hypnosis tape is actually the voice of one of the directors of the show, Marta Kaufman. So I think it's cool that they were able to work the director into the show that way. And my next favorite episode of seasons 1 to 3 is actually one of the episodes we just watched last night. The one with the chicken and the duck, where Joey and Chandler adopt baby chick and baby duck from the pet store, and they become parents to the chicken duck. And I think that's a cute episode. We gave it a B+. One thing I never quite figured out is how the landlords of the apartment that these characters lived in allowed Ross to keep Marcel and Chandler and Joey to keep the chick and the duck, because I have lived in apartments. I live in an apartment right now, and I lived in one when I lived in Nashua, and we had pretty strict rules about having pets in the apartment building. We could only have service animals or whatever. And I think also cats, but I'm really surprised that Ross and Chandler and Joey did not get in trouble with their landlord or the superintendent of their apartment building for having animals like that in their apartment. I mean, in the episode in season 1 where Rachel babysits Marcel and the monkey gets away, the animal control people are called. And they it is mentioned to them why they are keeping a monkey in the apartment when it's really not a good living situation for them. So that's how I always wondered. That's a plot hole that should have been addressed. One of the many plot holes in Friends that should have been addressed is how they were allowed to keep those kind of animals in the apartment building in a living environment that isn't really suited for them. Like animals, like monkeys live in zoos and chicks and ducks live on farms. A New York City apartment that's like is really not a proper place for those types of animals that are in these episodes. So I just found that to be super confusing, and it never made sense. My least favorite episodes of seasons 1 to 3 of Friends are the following. The one with the boobies, the one with the stone guy when Monica is trying to get a job at a restaurant and the guy who is hiring her shows up stoned. So yes, the one with the 2 parts, part 2, is the one where, this is the second part of the 2-parter episode where Joey is dating Phoebe's twin, Ursula. And basically in this episode, for those who have not seen it or don't remember, Ursula basically stands Joey up, and Phoebe has to pretend to be her sister to let Joey down easily that Ursula does not want to date him. And, like, that makes me really sad for Joey, because he deserves to be treated so much better. But I do like the fact that Joey and Phoebe do get to kiss in that episode. And there was a fan theory that was actually proven to be true because, well, Matt LeBlanc and Lisa Kudrow brought this idea to the directors that they shot it down, that they wanted to reshoot certain scenes for certain episodes, and maybe this scene could have been one of the scenes they were thinking of reshooting from this episode, the one with the 2 parts, part 2, where it would leave a trail of hints that Joey and Phoebe were eventually hooking up, secretly hooking up in the background. But essentially, we all know that Phoebe ended up with Mike, and I liked them together, but honestly, I really thought it would have been cool if Phoebe and Joey had ended up together. Like, Rachel and Joey were kind of a cute couple, but I wanted them to stay together for a little bit longer, but essentially we all know that Ross and Rachel end up together in the end, because, you know, she gets off the plane. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on We Were on a Break either. I'm getting to that in a bit. The next least favorite season 1 to 3 episode is the one with the list where where Chandler and Joey help Ross make the pros and cons list for Rachel and Julie to help him decide who to date. The thing I hated the most about this episode was how Ross hurt Rachel's feelings so badly and didn't really take accountability for hurting her, and I don't think he technically apologized. Maybe I missed that, but I just felt bad for Rachel, and I wanted to go through the TV screen and punch Ross in the face for doing that to her. The next episode I did not like in seasons 1 to 3 of Friends was the one with Russ, where Rachel is dating this guy who sort of looks like Ross. And what made this thing super confusing to me was the fact that this guy looks a lot like David Schwimmer. So when David Schwimmer is in the same scene with the guy who looks like him, it's so confusing. And I think it took Rachel a little while to realize how similar they looked. And also the plot with Fun Bobby. That is one serious issue that was talked about in Miss Mojo's video that has been previously mentioned. As I said before, I did not like how the situation with Fun Bobby was handled in this episode of Friends. And if you saw my post from Thursday morning where I shared my fan fiction, I basically wrote a fan fiction that modernizes the Fun Bobby plot, and instead of focusing on their friends, it focuses on their kids. And a classmate of Emma, Jack, and Erica is having substance use disorder, and Chandler and Monica being shocked to discover that their son Jack is also doing drugs. And I hope I handled that topic well in my fan fiction, and that, so the reason why I don't think this plot line would work today if it was written in for a modern series of Friends would be because obviously if people have read Matthew Perry's memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, you will see what he has gone through over the years with his substance use disorder. And that's why I don't think the Fun Bobby plotline was handled very tactfully at all during Friends. Like, I don't think they respected Bobby's disorder. I think they could have really been nicer to him about it instead of, and in the scene after, like, when Bobby is trying to get sober and he's having the really boring discussion about hardware stores, and then he gets up to leave and Chandler says, "Ridiculously dull, Bobby." I just think that comment should have been left out because sure, the conversation might have been boring, but I think that everybody else in that scene should have been more understanding of Bobby's recovery instead of like making fun of him for holding up a boring conversation. So if Matthew Perry reads my fan fiction, which he is likely not going to, but if he does, I hope he thinks I handled the situation well in it and that he appreciates it and doesn't find it offensive, because I'm a little worried about that. My next least favorite 1 to season 3 episode of Friends is the one where Eddie moves in, where Chandler gets a roommate. His name is Eddie because Joey moves out on his own because he gets more money at his acting job. And the thing that was confusing is that this actor's name is Adam Goldberg, the guy that plays Eddie. His name is Adam Goldberg. So I actually thought he was the guy from the Goldbergs, but it's a different Adam Goldberg, I guess. But what is creepy about Eddie is that he watches Chandler sleep, which is very strange. And that's why Chandler does not like him. And this is a 2-part episode. The one where Eddie moves in, the one where Eddie moves out. I just didn't like Eddie as a character. I thought he was weird. And then the one with the chicken pox, where Phoebe and her boyfriend from the Navy both have the chicken pox. I think they could have done without that plot line. Honestly, I just didn't think it really fit a comedy show very well. It wasn't very funny. Much like the episode from season 1, the one with the East German laundry detergent where Ross and Rachel are doing the laundry. And the final... Number 9. The one with the metaphorical tunnel. This is season 4 of episode 4 of season 3. And the thing I hate the most about this episode of Friends is when Ross doesn't let his son Ben play with the Barbie and tries to force heteronormal stereotypes on him and play with more manly toys. Like, I was like, get over yourself. It's just a Barbie. And like, all of the other characters were getting really aggravated with him too, including Rachel. Like, just let your son play with a Barbie. And the final episode is the one with the morning after, which is the reason the episode that is after the second part of the two-parter where Ross cheats on Rachel with Chloe and the other four friends are trapped in Monica's bedroom listening to their fight. And first of all, let me just say, this is the whole beginning of the we were on a break situation between Ross and Rachel. I was always of the opinion, even when Friends was on originally, that after Ross initially cheated on Rachel with Chloe, Rachel should have, ditched that relationship and not gone back to him again after that. Because, cheating is very unforgivable. And, when I was watching this episode, I pictured myself in the scene, trapped in the bedroom with Monica, Phoebe, Chandler, and Joey. And, during the scene when they're shaving their legs, I can relate to that. And, I would have been right in between them shaving my legs too, probably. But that's besides the point. Because we're talking about Ross and Rachel breaking up here. I hated Ross in this episode. And if I pictured myself in this scene, but instead of keeping the bedroom door closed, I would have said, screw this. I'm busting this door down. I'm kicking Ross's ass. I'm getting food from the fridge. I'm taking it back to everybody else. That's my opinion. Because what Ross did to Rachel was really unforgivable. And Rachel deserved so much better than him. Even throughout the rest of the seasons, when they kept breaking up and getting back together. That's why I was so frustrated in the finale when she gets off the plane. Because she should have stayed on the plane and kept her job in Paris. And, I understand she had to go back to Ross to raise her daughter, but everybody else in the friend group and her parents, and, well, maybe not Ross's parents if her and Ross broke up, but everybody else could have helped Rachel raise Emma, because after not watching Friends for such a long time and growing up and experiencing life past watching the show when it originally ran, growing up, I've grown up, I grew up watching Friends. I watched it from age 10 to age 18. Then I went to college. I didn't start watching it until 2 months ago, but basically I found myself relating to a lot of the situations that these characters went through, in high school and college, and right now, in my 20s and early 30s. And one thing that is unforgivable about Ross did is how he should have realized that he was still trying to work things out with Rachel, and he should have never hooked up with Chloe in the first place. He should have focused on Rachel and working on their relationship. And I understand he was mad at her and that he was hurt, but cheating is never the right thing to do. Him and Rachel really should have... if I had been a writer for this show, I would have had Rachel and Ross friggin' go to counseling from the very beginning of the show, so they could have worked out their issues from the beginning, so they would have had to not break up so much and get back together, because their relationship was so messed up throughout the whole entire show. And there's a video on YouTube that I have watched in research for previous videos that I have made on YouTube about Friends, about how Ross is a toxic person. And I agree with the comments on this video. You can look it up on YouTube yourself if you would like to watch it. It's called Toxic Traits of Ross. and it's on the YouTube channel The Take. And I mean, there are a lot of interesting videos about friends on this channel too, not just about Ross, but like about Monica and Chandler's relationship, about how Richard was the one who got away, about how Janice was technically supposed to be Chandler's soulmate. I mean, really interesting commentary. I don't want to get into that stuff right now, but if you want to check out those videos for yourself, please do, because they're very, very interesting. But yeah, in a lot of these season 3 episodes that I have seen, especially when Rachel is with Mark, her dating Mark, the guy from Bloomingdale's, like, you can definitely see how possessive of Rachel Ross is. And like, I can relate to Rachel because I was in a relationship with somebody who is possessive, and that was my first boyfriend that I ever dated when I was in college. And I remember that my other friends from theater, Jenny and Carrie, were really concerned about me because I dated this other guy from theater. At the time, I was a sophomore in college. So yeah, I started dating very late. And then the honorable mention, least favorite episode of season 1 to 3, number 11, is the one without the ski trip, where they're traveling to the ski mountain for the ski trip weekend, and their car breaks down, and Rachel doesn't want to be around Ross because they just broke up. And this makes things difficult for the rest of the friends because they don't want to be put in the middle of their fight. So, of course, they have to call Ross to take them to the ski mountain because their car broke down. So the reason why this relationship, this episode is my least favorite, is probably because it hits home the hardest for me, because I have been in that situation so many times with my group of friends from New Hampshire when we have tried to plan activities for our group that are and there are people in the group who are either not getting along or couples who have just broken up, and we have to like walk on eggshells to try to plan activities with both people involved to make sure everybody's happy and to make sure there's no tension with everybody else. So yeah, I can definitely relate to Chandler and Monica and Phoebe and Joey in this episode because of the fact that they're trying to like choose between doing stuff with Rachel and choose between doing stuff with Ross, and they're trying to balance things out because they can't do stuff with them together in the whole group because it ruins their group dynamic because of Ross and Rachel's breakup. So I would like to just applaud the actors of Friends for making such relatable episodes. I feel like in the first 3 seasons of Friends, there are a lot of episodes that I can relate to. In the later seasons, I'm not sure if there's a whole lot I can relate to because, like, there are episodes that I love, of course, but they're not storylines I can personally relate to, like Monica and Chandler having infertility, or Ross saying Rachel's name at the altar and that whole mess, or what was another thing? Yeah, I can't think of anything else. So as far as serious issues in season 1 to 3 episodes, another issue that was talked about was divorce, because as you know, as I mentioned, in the one with the lesbian wedding, Rachel's mother tells Rachel that she's going to get divorced from her dad. But one thing I would have liked to see explored more in, like, future episodes of Friends was how that really affected Rachel and her sisters, because it's not really talked about again, really. And you don't really see Rachel's mom or Rachel's sisters in very many episodes beyond 1 or 2 that they are in. I mean, I feel like Rachel's dad was in more episodes than Rachel's mom was, for some reason or another. And let me just say, I feel the top 2 most underrated characters in Friends are Rachel's father and Monica and Ross's father. I wish there had been more episodes centered around them and their relationship with their kids, specifically Monica's relationship with her dad, because it's very sweet that he calls her his little harmonica. But also, like, the guy who plays Rachel's dad, he's just hysterical. What's his name? Rob Liebman, I think. He was just so funny in all of the episodes he's in throughout the series. Like, I just loved him, and I wish there had been more of a plot development that focused more around his relationship with Rachel and his other 2 daughters, because that is something that is not really discussed. And if there had been a spin-off series of Friends, I definitely think there should have been a spin-off that focused on Rachel raising Emma and her relationship with her mom and her sisters, because I think her dad dies of a heart attack in a later season or something. And then I wish there had been another spin-off with Monica and Chandler raising Jack and Erica, and I'm sorry, and Monica's relationship with her parents. Like, her mother was really mean to her, but, like, I would have loved to see how Jack and Judy, like, raise their grandchildren, Chandler and Monica's twins, and Emma and Ben, because after season 8, you don't really see Ben at all. But my fan fiction fixes all that. And I know I have shared my fan fiction quite extensively, and I haven't gotten a lot of comments. But if you ever get the chance to read them, I would appreciate your feedback, because I have worked really hard on developing the worlds of these characters beyond the series, and really diving in deep into things that are handled in the episodes too. Like, I have 2 different fan fiction series going on. One called Alternative Views of Friends Episodes, and one called What Happens After the Last One. What Happens After the Last One focuses on stuff that happens after Friends, like Joey moving back in with Erica and with Monica and Chandler after the Joey spinoff to help raise Jack and Erica. Like the story I just mentioned about Monica and Chandler's son having substance use disorder is something that's talked about in one of my stories. What else did I talk about? I'm working on one that is kind of on hold right now about Rachel marrying Gunther. And this chapter I'm having trouble writing, actually, is the wedding and honeymoon, because the interesting thing about Gunther's character, and I think why he's so fun to write about, is because throughout the series, Gunther, for those who don't remember, is the guy who works in the coffee shop who has a crush on Rachel. So basically, in my story, Rachel and Gunther reconnect after many years because Rachel returns to New York from Paris to open her own boutique, and basically they have a connection because obviously. So my favorite ongoing running gag in the series of Friends is Gunther loving Rachel and having a crush on her, and hating Ross for how much he doesn't treat Rachel right. So basically, my fan fiction has Rachel and Gunther getting married. By this time, Emma is in 6th grade, so she's a preteen, and she's in the same grade as Jack and Erica, which technically, I think that technically Emma would probably be a little bit older than Jack and Erica, but in my story, they're the same age, just so that way they can all be in the same grade as Emma, and that way Emma and Jack and Erica can be in the same age. And also Phoebe's daughter, who's my original character, her name is Ivy. What else did I not talk about for series issues? Breakups, I talked about that. Oh, another serious issue that I felt was not treated properly in seasons 1 to 3 of Friends. There were quite a few. One of them was fat shaming of Monica. I just felt that Monica's weight being a running joke during Friends was sort of inappropriate and actually really mean and hurtful. It doesn't really provide a good message of body positivity. And I wish if maybe there could be, if there were ever like a new version of Friends made or a spin-off, maybe there would be something that would focus more on body positivity and eating healthy. And maybe Monica could like have her own cooking show or something that focuses on healthy eating, so she could inspire people to eat healthy. And then and the other thing I wanted to talk about was Phoebe's sexual assault by Paolo. So in season 1, Rachel dates this Italian guy named Paolo, and he comes to Phoebe's massage parlor for a massage, where he assaults Phoebe and exposes himself to her. If Friends had been made in this period of time, first of all, that episode would have never aired because of the Me Too movement. Second of all, if it were to be made, there would be no laugh track, because the laugh track basically friggin' downplays the whole sexual assault. And it makes you take that whole thing less seriously about being assaulted at your job. And I feel like that could have been handled a lot better. And Phoebe is meant to be the comic relief on Friends. I get that. But in that episode, there should have been no laugh track. They could have easily done it without the laugh track in that episode, because it's not funny. Sexual assault is not funny. What was the other serious issue? Divorce, money, family dynamics, fat shaming Monica, I think I talked about everything. Oh, gay marriage. Yeah, I talked about that too. Oh, male affection. So, this topic came up in the original video they made. That Miss Mojo made about series issues from Friends. And this issue confuses me on why it's considered a serious issue. So basically they discuss male affection and guys being macho and not wanting to hug each other and whatever. And they use Joey and Chandler's relationship and how they're always hugging each other as an example. I guess I don't see that as a serious problem. I guess if you're a guy and you have issues with your masculinity, maybe if you watched Friends in the 90s and early 2000s, you saw male affection as an issue. I guess as a woman, I never saw that as an issue. That's just me. If the men who watch my videos want to comment on that, or, for example, not that the actors from Friends watch my videos, but if they do, and if Matt LeBlanc and Matthew Perry want to leave me a comment about like the relationship between Chandler and Joey on Friends and how the male affection thing could be considered a serious issue, that would actually be helpful to me, and I would appreciate it, because I just never got how that was a serious issue, and I was confused about why Miss Mojo put that in her video, and I feel like it should have not been included. And I feel like, I mean, some of the other stuff that was previously mentioned, like being friends with your ex, or messy breakups, or whatever, good. Those are good alternatives to replace male affection. I think they could have not put, I think Miss Mojo would have done a lot better with not including the male affection serious issue a second time in their video. Because, I mean, I guess it's a serious issue to some people, but not to everybody. I mean, I feel like serious issues invoke discussion, like gay marriage, like substance use disorder, like sexual assault. Those are all serious issues, but male affection, like, I guess I'm not getting how that's a serious issue. That's why I need it clarified, and that's why I would appreciate comments on that from the men who watch my videos. That would be very helpful to me, because I just don't get it. So yeah, thank you again for tuning in, and I will be back on Friday night or Saturday morning to review the Little Mermaid live action movie, and Ticket to Paradise, and also 3 to Tango, and Fools Rush In. So thank you. Have a good rest of your week, everybody.